I have been practicing meditation for about 15 years now. To be fully transparent, when I first learned about mindfulness, I thought it was the biggest waste of time. Not because I didn't believe in meditation. I had actually been meditating for years at that point. I just thought that the style of meditation that I was most familiar with, which I learned through kind of studying Kadampa Buddhism, which was using a Buddhist root mantra, I thought was far superior. I remember learning just one of the basic mindfulness meditations of focusing on your breath, and I found like that was impossible because my mind was so kind of all over the place. But when I would do my mantra-based meditation, which had three different components to it, I would inhale, think about Om, think about the top of my head. I'd hold my breath, I'd think about Ah right here at my throat, and then I would exhale and think in my head, think the sound Hum. And using that Om, Ah, Hum meditation gave my busy mind a lot to do. I also used a mala, like a beads, or you can think of like a rosary, and I would hold the bead with my finger and I would do one Om, Ah, Hum, and then move on to the next one. And I felt like having that physical thing mixed with a mantra that had three components of it, and there also was color and could visualize different areas of your body, a lot happening there. It allowed my mind to really focus in, and I was like, this is by far the best possible form of meditation. But over time, I've also tried everything, and I got more into the idea of mindfulness, especially when I read Shinzen Young's book, The Science of Enlightenment. And even then, practicing years ago, I started also incorporating these mindfulness practices and just doing even a breath-centered mindfulness focus. I found it was actually super intense and allowed me to drop into states of consciousness that were quite profound. And I think having to not force, whereas a mantra, I felt like I was forcing my attention, be like, Om, where am I in my breath cycle? Doing a open awareness mindfulness practice in my breath, or just focusing my breath, kind of was less to kind of keep my mind, but just one simple thing. And I think just having one simple thing of where's my attention, is it on my breath or is it not? Just keep coming back to my breath. Over time, I think using just that simple approach allows my mind to drop kind of into different states of consciousness over time. And the other also very interesting thing I find with doing the mindfulness breath meditation is that I'll get some of the weirdest, strangest thoughts pop up in my head. Not weird in the sense that it's like, where did this come from? I could be practicing my breath awareness and all of a sudden think about a thought about something from childhood, some obscure kind of thing that I really could not place why that came up to my mind. But sometimes those things come up. And I really like the concept of CCE. This is something that Shinzen talks about a lot. It's concentration, clarity, and equanimity. And he talks about applying CCE to these complex thoughts, feelings. And I think what's so beautiful about mindfulness, and what I think I really appreciate about doing this breath meditation and the mindfulness practices, is it allows me, when I'm in just regular life, dealing with complex emotions, whether, being a dad, being a husband, you have lots of opportunities to practice dealing with complex emotions. And when I feel really frustrated or feel angry or feel whatever the strong emotion is, I think a mindfulness practice allows me to create a little bit of space to actually see that instead of just purely identifying with that, create a little bit of that space, and also to kind of apply some just concentration, clarity, equanimity. And I think doing things like the body scan mindfulness practice, all these other little mindfulness practices help me. Then in the real world, I'll try to do things like, if let's say I'm very angry, I'm feeling a lot of anger, something as simple as, where am I feeling this anger in my body? Which might sound cheesy or weird, but when I focus that question of like, where am I actually feeling this in my body? It takes me away from identifying with it and allows me to kind of see it more with equanimity and some spaciousness. And maybe I can even feel some anger, some tightness in my chest, maybe some clenching of my jaw. And I can start kind of seeing it more differently with a little bit of space. And then I can also allow some of that to pass through. And I think what's so beautiful about mindfulness is it's that superpower in the sense, because we're just getting bombarded with thoughts, feelings, emotions. And I think so many of our thoughts, feelings, emotions are not really helpful. But the practice for me, I know, allows things to just kind of flow through more. Not saying I don't ever get attached to these thoughts. Of course I do. And complex emotions can still be super overwhelming, and I can still be very poor about dealing with them. But I know at least I really believe the practice is helping me so much in dealing with that. And I think that's what's something different I noticed from doing mindfulness opposed to doing my Buddhist mantra practice. Kind of like I said, the mindfulness is more teaching you to accept what is as is, whereas I felt like the mantra is me trying to force something on it. And I don't necessarily think one is better than the other. I still use tons of different forms of meditation. If things feel totally effed, I think a mantra meditation, especially using my Om Ahum, it's incredible. And I think sometimes when things feel so intense, it's too hard to practice CCE on those emotions. Whereas doing something with my mantra, or even doing some inhaling kind of white light, exhaling out dark smoke, all these other just very simple meditations are better fit for some of those. And I feel like that is really helpful. So my big thing is just having tons of tools in the tool belt. Daily practice is huge. For me, it's something I've been doing every day now, 15 years. It's really just something I feel like is so crucial. And even if it's something I somehow couldn't fit in the day before I go to bed, it's so easy to spend a little bit of time doing a mindfulness practice, body scan. I also like Sahaja Yoga. They have a meditation based on the different chakras, and I'll sometimes do something like that, which really I feel like helps me relax and kind of like shut the brain off a bit before bed, which is such an easy thing to do. I mean, it can be a complex thing for people to do. So I really feel like the primo times, it's that morning, kind of set your day right, and the end of the day, help wind everything down, set you up for that really deep restorative sleep. So, I mean, I think mindfulness is great. I don't know if I'm fully answering these questions because it's harder. This week hasn't been something brand new for me doing a 10-minute practice. But I think it's awesome. And I think I'd be really curious to learn from you, Professor, about your experience implementing mindfulness with athletes and all kinds of college students. And always looking to hear the insights on that, what works best, what resonates best with you found resonated best with your students and your different subgroups you've worked with. So thanks so much for taking the time to check this out. Appreciate y'all.